I watched my family pack my belongings into trash bags and kick me out of my childhood home. They needed my room for my sister's new boyfriend. What they didn't know was that I had a plan that would change everything. And they were about to find out exactly who they'd just thrown away. My name is Alexis. I'm 27, and I have a secret that would make my family's head spin. I still lived at home, paying my parents $500 a month in rent. After college, I moved back in with my computer science degree and told everyone I was freelancing as a programmer. Technically true, but that wasn't the whole story. Not even close. I'd been obsessed with investing since high school. While other kids were shopping and partying, I was reading books about the stock market, taking online courses, learning everything I could about how money actually works. I worked part-time jobs after school, saved every single penny, and started investing small amounts. Nobody took me seriously. My parents would see me reading investment books and roll their eyes. My sister Tiffany would make jokes about me becoming a finance bro. But I didn't care what they thought. I was building something. When I was 23, I had saved up $10,000. My entire life savings. Every dollar from every shift I'd ever worked. I found a startup that looked promising and invested everything. Risky? Absolutely. My hands shook when I clicked the final confirmation button. But I'd done my research. I'd spent months analyzing this company, their business model, their market potential. The startup took off. Within a year, my $10,000 turned into $80,000. I didn't tell anyone. I knew my parents would find some way to guilt me into giving them the money if they found out. I'd watched them do it to other family members before. So I kept quiet and kept investing. I took that $80,000 and split it between two other startups. Both of them paid off. One tripled my investment. The other brought in huge profits. A month ago, I checked my accounts and realized I had $3 million. $3 million. I was 27 years old and set for life, but I was still living in my childhood bedroom, still getting nagged about getting a real job, still being told I was wasting my life. My mom would say things like, "You can't be a freelancer forever, Alexis. You need stability." My dad would add, "Look at your sister. She has a real office job with benefits." Tiffany worked as an office manager at some company downtown. She made decent money but spent it all immediately. New clothes, expensive dinners, concerts, trips. Every month she'd run out before payday and come to me asking for cash. I always gave it to her. I also gave my parents money all the time. Small amounts here and there for groceries, utilities, whatever they needed. Last month my dad's car broke down and I gave him $3,000 to fix it. He took it like it was nothing, never questioning where a struggling freelancer got that kind of cash. They took the money without question. Never wondered how a poor freelancer always had cash available. It was like they didn't want to know. As long as I could help them when they needed it, they didn't care about the details. I was planning to move out soon, buy my own place. I'd been looking at houses online, making plans. I just hadn't pulled the trigger yet. Part of me wanted to leave on my own terms, you know? Not running away, just making a clean, mature exit. Then everything changed. One night, Tiffany brought her boyfriend over for dinner. His name was Trevor. She introduced him to the family all excited, saying he was a successful investor. My ears perked up. Another investor. Maybe we'd have something to talk about. Maybe I could finally have a conversation with someone in this family about something I actually cared about. During dinner, I started asking Trevor questions about his investments. What sectors was he interested in? What was his strategy? How did he research opportunities? Basic stuff. The kind of questions any investor would be able to answer easily. He gave vague, uncomfortable answers. When he did respond, he talked complete nonsense. Mentioned buying cryptocurrency stocks and investing in the blockchain company. He clearly had no idea what he was talking about. "Alexis, get off Trevor with your stupid questions," Tiffany snapped at me. I shut up and went back to eating. Trevor spent the rest of dinner bragging about how successful he was, how much money he made, how smart he was with his investments. My parents ate it up, nodding and smiling at everything he said. My dad even asked him for advice about retirement planning. I almost choked on my food. After that night, Tiffany stopped talking to me. She'd whisper with our parents constantly, shooting me dirty looks across the room. I'd catch them having these quiet conversations that would stop the second I walked into the kitchen. A week later, we were all at dinner when my mom made an announcement. "Alexis, you need to move out. Tiffany is going to need your room." I put down my fork. "What?" "Trevor is moving in with us in 2 weeks. He needs an office to work from. Your room will be perfect for that." Tiffany was sitting there with this smug smile on her face. Like she'd won some competition I didn't even know we were having. "That's not fair," I said. "I've been paying you rent this whole time. I help with money constantly. Where am I supposed to go?" My mom waved her hand dismissively. "You've given us some pocket change here and there. You're 27 years old, Alexis. It's time you learn to live independently." Pocket change. $3,000 for a car repair was pocket change to her. "If Trevor is such a successful investor," I said, looking at Tiffany, "why doesn't he have money to rent his own place?" Tiffany's face turned red. "That's none of your business. He invested everything in a huge project. He doesn't have spare funds right now. So he's broke," I said. "He's not broke," Tiffany hissed. "He's invested. There's a difference." My dad cleared his throat. "You have 2 weeks to find somewhere else to live. This isn't up for discussion." They were all staring at me, probably expecting me to cry or beg them to let me stay. Instead, I said, "Okay. I understand." Then I went to my room. Once I was alone, I let myself cry for a few minutes. Not because I was scared or didn't know what to do. I cried because it hurt. My own family was kicking me out for some guy my sister had been dating for maybe a month. A guy who was clearly lying about being an investor. They chose him over me. But I was done crying after about 10 minutes. I wiped my face and made a decision. I wasn't going to tell them about my money. Not a word. They didn't deserve to know. They'd made their choice. And now I was going to make mine. I pulled out my phone and called my friend Chloe's aunt, Sandra. Sandra was a real estate agent and we'd stayed in touch over the years. She was good at her job and didn't ask too many questions. "Sandra, hi, it's Alexis. I need to buy a house soon. Like as soon as possible." "Oh, okay. That's exciting. Let me pull up some listings. I can send you options right now if you want." "Please do." Within 5 minutes, my phone was buzzing with messages. Sandra had sent me a list of about 15 houses in various neighborhoods. I scrolled through them, looking at prices, locations, photos. Then I saw it. A house directly across the street from my parents' place. A brand new 2-story house with 4 bedrooms, a huge yard, modern everything. It looked perfect. And it was right across from them. They'd see it every single day. I called Sandra back immediately. "The house on Maple Street. The one that's 712 Maple. I want that one." "Oh, that's a beautiful property. But Alexis, I have to warn you, it's expensive. We're talking about $700,000. "I can handle it. I want that house. Can you make it happen fast?" There was a pause. "How fast are we talking?" "As fast as legally possible." "Okay, let me make some calls. I'll get back to you tomorrow." The next day, Sandra and I met at the house. We walked through every room. The kitchen had granite countertops and stainless steel appliances. The master bedroom was huge with an attached bathroom that had a soaking tub. The backyard had a deck and space for a garden. It was perfect. And the best part? My bedroom window would face directly toward my parents' house. They'd see me living my best life every single day. "I'll take it," I told Sandra. "Whatever the asking price is, I'm in. Let's close this deal as fast as we can." Sandra looked at me with new respect. I'll have the paperwork ready by tomorrow. We can move quickly if you have financing lined up. I'm paying cash. Her eyebrows shot up, but she didn't ask questions. Even better. We can close in about 10 days if everything goes smoothly. Make it happen. A week went by. My parents and Tiffany pretty much ignored me. I stayed in my room most of the time, working on my laptop, making plans for my new house. Ordering furniture online. Planning the layout. Choosing paint colors. Meanwhile, I could hear them downstairs laughing with Trevor, talking about how great it would be when he moved in. Then one afternoon, I came home after meeting some friends for coffee. I walked into my room and found Tiffany and Trevor going through my stuff. They were throwing my clothes into cardboard boxes and trash bags. "What are you doing?" I asked, my voice tight. Tiffany didn't even look up. "Packing your stuff. You need to leave today." "I have another week." Dad said 2 weeks. Plans changed. Trevor already gave notice at his apartment. He needs to move in now, so you need to get out. "Tiffany, that's not fair. We had an agreement." She finally looked at me, her face hard. "I don't care. This is our house now. Leave." I went downstairs to find my parents. They were in the living room watching TV. Mom, Dad, Tiffany, and Trevor are packing my stuff. They're telling me I have to leave today. What's going on? My dad didn't take his eyes off the TV. "Emergency situation, Alexis. You're going to have to figure it out. It doesn't matter to us where you go." My mom nodded. "Tiffany needs that room now. You're an adult. Handle it." I stood there for a moment, feeling the final pieces of my attachment to this family break away. This was really happening. They really didn't care. "Okay. I understand." I went back upstairs. Tiffany and Trevor had finished shoving my clothes into bags. I gathered up my laptop, my important documents, some personal items. I made several trips carrying everything down to the garage. My parents had an empty space there where I could store things temporarily. Once everything was in the garage, I called Chloe. "Hey, can I crash at your place for a little while? Family situation." "Of course. Come over whenever." I grabbed my overnight bag, my laptop, and my purse. I took one last look at the house I'd grown up in. My parents were still watching TV. Tiffany and Trevor were already rearranging furniture in what used to be my room. I could hear them laughing. I walked out the front door, got in my car, started the engine. Not one person came out to see me off. Not one person asked where I was going or if I'd be okay. I drove away without looking back. 10 days later, I got the call from Sandra. "Alexis, congratulations. The house is yours. Come pick up your keys whenever you're ready." I met her at her office that afternoon. She handed me a set of keys and a deed to my house. My house. $700,000, paid in full cash. No mortgage, no debt. Just mine. "Enjoy your new home," Sandra said, shaking my hand. And if you don't mind me saying, that was the smoothest transaction I've ever handled. I drove to my parents' house while they were out. I knew their schedule. Dad would be at his coffee shop until 6. Mom was at her book club on Wednesdays. Tiffany would be at work. I backed my car into their driveway and loaded up all my stuff from the garage. It took 3 trips, but I got everything moved into my new house. Boxes of clothes, my computer equipment, books, everything I owned. Then I started furnishing the place. I spent the next 2 weeks ordering furniture online, hiring people to deliver and assemble it. I bought a huge sectional couch for the living room, a king-size bed with an expensive mattress, a dining table that seated 8, kitchen supplies, towels, decorations, everything. I got a 75-inch TV for the living room and mounted it on the wall. I set up my home office with a standing desk and a gaming chair. I even got plants for every room. While I was setting everything up, I'd sometimes stand at my bedroom window and look across the street at my parents' house. I could see into their living room and backyard. I watched them having barbecues. I saw them eating dinner together. And now Trevor was sitting in my spot at the table. It was surreal. I'd been erased from their lives so easily. But I was building something better. 2 weeks after moving in, my house was perfect. Every room was decorated. Everything was in its place. It was time to celebrate. I started calling relatives. My Aunt Ellen, my Uncle Rick, my cousins, friends from college, friends from my online investing groups. I invited about 30 people to a housewarming party in 2 days. I deliberately didn't invite my parents or Tiffany. They'd kicked me out. They didn't get to celebrate my success. The day before the party, my phone rang. It was my mom. Alexis, I just heard from your aunt that you moved into a house across the street from us and you're throwing a party. I held the phone away from my ear. She was screaming. You can't afford to rent a house like that. You'll be able to live there for maybe a month before you get evicted. You're doing this to spite us, aren't you? Having this ridiculous party to make us look bad. Well, we're not coming. You're not invited anyway, I said calmly. She sputtered for a moment, then hung up. Party day arrived. People started showing up around 2 in the afternoon. Friends, relatives, everyone I cared about. They walked through my house amazed at how beautiful everything was. We had food catered, music playing, drinks flowing. Everyone was having a great time. Then about an hour into the party, there was a knock at the door. I opened it to find my parents, Tiffany, and Trevor standing there. They pushed past me without being invited and walked into my house. I watched their faces as they looked around. The expensive furniture. The huge TV. The artwork on the walls. The brand new appliances in the kitchen. They were stunned. Why are you here? I asked. You weren't invited. My mom turned to me, her face suspicious. This is very suspicious, Alexis. Where did you get the money for all this? Are you involved in some kind of fraud? Drug dealing? Everyone at the party had gone quiet, watching us. I smiled. I'd been waiting for this moment. I made a series of successful investments, I said loudly, making sure everyone could hear. I currently have over $3 million in my bank account. I bought this house. I paid cash. And now I'm your neighbor. My parents' mouths fell open. Tiffany looked like she'd been slapped. Trevor just stared. One of my cousins shouted, "Time for toasts." I held up my hand. Before we start the toasts, some extra people need to leave my house. I pointed at my parents, Tiffany, and Trevor. You 4. Get out. They stood there for a moment, not moving. Then my dad turned and walked toward the door. Mom and Tiffany followed. Trevor trailed behind them, looking uncomfortable. They didn't say a word. They just left. The party continued. Everyone congratulated me, asked me about my investments, wanted to know my story. It felt amazing to finally be able to talk about it openly with people who actually cared about me. The next day, I woke up to several text messages from my parents and Tiffany. I didn't read them. I just deleted them. The day after that, I found something on my front porch. A pie, homemade, still warm, with a note from my mother. We should talk. Love, Mom. I picked up the pie, walked across the street, and left it on their porch. Then I went back home. Over the following days, none of us spoke. But every morning when I woke up, I'd go to my bedroom window. If I saw any of them outside or looking out their windows, I'd give them a big smile and wave. Just a friendly neighbor saying hello. The look on their faces was priceless every single time. 3 months went by. 3 peaceful, quiet months where I lived in my beautiful house, worked on my investments, and enjoyed my life. I'd wave at my family from my window occasionally just to remind them I was still there. They never waved back. Then one Saturday morning, there was a knock on my door. I opened it to find my mother standing there. She looked tired, older than I remembered. There were dark circles under her eyes. Alexis, we need to talk. Can I come in? No. What do you want? She took a deep breath. We have serious problems. Tiffany's fiancé Trevor, he turned out to be a fraud. He convinced us to invest $100,000 in his business venture. He said it was a sure thing, that we'd triple our money. We gave him the money and he disappeared. Just vanished. I leaned against my door frame. That's unfortunate. Your father and I took out a loan. We also pulled money from our coffee shop business. We gave Trevor everything. Tiffany is devastated. She really thought she was going to marry him. I'm sorry that happened to you, I said. But it's not my problem. My mother's face changed. The sadness disappeared, replaced by anger. This is your fault. You should have warned us. You're the one who knows about investments. You should have recognized he was a scammer. I tried to ask him questions at dinner. I interrupted. Tiffany told me to shut up. You all thought he was wonderful. You owe us, Alexis. After everything we did for you, raising you, giving you a home. I paid rent, I said. I lived in your house and paid you $500 a month. I gave you money constantly. I paid for Dad's car repair. I was a tenant, not a freeloader. I don't owe you anything. My mother started to respond, but I closed the door in her face. I heard her standing there for a moment, then footsteps walking away. A couple of months later, my Aunt Ellen called me. She'd been at my housewarming party and we'd stayed in touch. Alexis, I thought you should know what's happening with your parents. What's going on? They had to make a choice. Either sell their house or sell their coffee shop to pay off the loan they took out. They chose to sell the house. I sat down on my couch. They sold the house. Yes. They paid off all their debts with the money. They bought a small apartment instead. It's in the same building where their coffee shop is located. 2 bedrooms. Your sister moved in with them. How is Tiffany doing? Not well. She's been depressed since Trevor disappeared. Your parents are paying for her to see a therapist. She barely leaves the apartment except to go to work. That's sad, I said. And I meant it. I didn't wish depression on anyone, even Tiffany. I think your parents couldn't stand living across from you anymore, Aunt Ellen added. Seeing your success every day while their lives fell apart. It was too much for them. After we hung up, I thought about everything that had happened. My family had kicked me out to make room for a con artist. They'd invested their money based on his lies. They'd lost their house because of their own bad decisions. And through it all, they'd never once apologized to me. Never acknowledged that they'd been wrong. My mother had even tried to blame me for not stopping them. A few days later, I was having coffee with Aunt Ellen at a cafe near my house. You know, I said, my parents just moved into an apartment building. Maybe I should buy the unit across from theirs. Aunt Ellen laughed so hard she almost spit out her coffee. Alexis, no. That would be too much. Let it go. I grinned. You're probably right. But it was fun to think about. Life went on. I continued working, making smart investments, growing my wealth. I started a blog about investing for young people, sharing what I'd learned without revealing too much personal information. It became surprisingly popular. I dated a little, traveled when I wanted to, bought nice things without guilt. I got a dog, a golden retriever I named Max. He loved the big backyard. My house became my sanctuary. Every room reflected my taste, my choices, my success. I'd built this life entirely on my own without any help from my family. Sometimes I thought about them. About Tiffany struggling with depression. About my parents downsizing their entire life. About how different things could have been if they just treated me with basic respect. But I didn't reach out. They knew where I lived. They had my number. If they wanted to apologize, to make amends, they could. But months went by and I heard nothing. Through Aunt Ellen, I learned that my parents were telling people I wasn't their daughter anymore, that they'd never forgive me for what I'd done to them. They'd rewritten history completely, making themselves the victims and me the villain. I wasn't surprised. People like that never take responsibility. It's always someone else's fault. I was 28 now. I had over $3 million, a beautiful home, a career I loved, and freedom I'd worked hard to achieve. I had real friends who valued me for who I was, not what I could give them. My family had made their choice. They'd kicked me out, dismissed me, blamed me for their own mistakes. And now they were living with the consequences. I was living with mine too. And honestly, I'd never been happier. On quiet evenings, I'd sit on my back deck with Max, looking at the sunset, thinking about how far I'd come. From that scared kid working after school to save money, to a woman who'd turned $10,000 into millions through smart decisions and hard work. I'd done it all myself, and no one could take that away from me. My phone buzzed. A notification from one of my investment accounts. Another startup I'd invested in was doing well. Projections looked good. I smiled and scratched Max behind his ears. Life was good, and it was only going to get better. Thanks for listening, and if you liked this story, share it with others, and don't forget to comment and subscribe for more stories about family betrayal, second chances, and finding strength when the people who should support you let you down. Sometimes the best revenge is simply living well.